What is up, y'all? So let's talk about the latest episode of Atlanta. We are on episode 5 of season 4. This is the final season, y'all. So of course they're going to be wrapping up stories. We're going to get all of the characters, all that good stuff. And this was a Van-centric episode. Pretty much we just saw Van in this, and I thought it was a great episode. One that definitely talked a lot about a lot of things, which we're going to discuss here for sure. So before we get any further into it, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're hitting that notification bell. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Let's get to it, but let's talk about this episode where we pretty much saw Van and Lottie go and try to go to this like audition that Van's gonna do. She's gonna be in this show for like a day or so, just get some quick cash, all of that. And as she goes to do this, the producer behind it all, the man that's sort of like running the whole establishment, Kirkwood, is pretty much like, hey, I want to have your daughter in this now, and I want to have her be in more scenes. And eventually we see this downward spiral where Lottie is taken from Van, and this is what Van did not want to happen at all. She was just there to work. Lottie was just tagging along for now, and so we see pretty much that this is going into a direction that she did not want it to happen at all, because Lottie is going from set to set doing all of these different things that Van doesn't even have no clue about what they are or if she would even approve of them. But here they have her pushing her all around, and Van is just trying to get her daughter back. Eventually she is able to confront the man behind this whole like elaborate studio lot, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if they were trying to, it seemed that they were trying to sort of have a like Tyler Perry-esque feel to this man and everything that he does as well. And so we have this confrontation that Van and Kirkwood have, and one of the interesting things is that Kirkwood, I believe, was Childish Gambino as well, which was making it a bigger gag than usual. And so I thought it was a very funny moment in interaction between the two as well. And eventually we get this sort of like breaking down what exactly Van is angry about all of this that's happening to Lottie as well, is because she feels that Kirkwood is somebody who takes advantage of black culture and sort of uses the trauma and everything to profit off of it. And so this sort of becomes a whole thing between back and forth between them, because in Kirkwood's eyes he's sort of helping the community and all of that as well by providing jobs and all of that. And even some of the people who work here tell Van that even though he is sort of doing so many things all at once and it doesn't make sense what's going on, he still is there propping the community up as well, winning all of these awards. And it gets into a whole thing between her and the other people as well, when she's talking about, well, they're just black awards, not really the white ones. And they're just like, so what's the difference if you're trying to put an award over another one? And so it creates this dialogue that happens between them about whether or not what's going on here in the studio and this lot and everything is a thing that's helping the community or is it not. And that sort of leads into the finale where we have Van and also Kirkwood discussing this as well, as he sort of says, well, I'm still propping the community up, but she just says you're taking advantage of the community and profiting off of them, and I don't think other people see that same benefit that you get from it at the end of the day, because you're making so many shows back and forth. So it's like you have the movies, the shows, and all of that, and you're just creating quantity instead of actual quality. And that's a big criticism that we always hear about Tyler Perry and everything he does. And it's something that's interesting to take note that the show does discuss and for you to come to your own conclusions about. But I think that was a very great way to sort of talk about the industry as well, not just Tyler Perry himself. I think we're also talking about the industry as a whole, Hollywood, television, even the internet nowadays, is how much quality is coming out of it versus the quantity that we're getting. Because at the same time, I feel that the episode was really concentrated as well on child actors and maybe also more vulnerable groups who are coming into the industry as well, as the industry is sort of letting newer voices and people that didn't have as much representation beforehand in the industry being able to be at forefront of it. Are they sort of being given the voice and platform they deserve, or are they sort of just being used and pretty much at the end of the day discarded without any hesitation because because they can just be easily replaced. You know, it asks all those questions. And also I think about child actors and all of that. We've heard so many of the child actors and their stories behind it all, how these work environments can be sort of not the best for a child, especially developing and being in those sets all the time. It definitely does something to them, and I think that's definitely what Van realized at the end, is even though this man was offering them a deal and everything for like a whole series and all of that, is that a good deal, or is that not worth it at all due to like the mental health and everything of her child? And of course she chose the mental health of her child over all of that, which I think was a very good move on her part. And that's pretty much how we end the episode, with her just going back and just saying like, nah, we can leave all of that over there and we're just gonna live our life and forget about all of that mess. Because like, is that even worth it, everything that she had to go through today and then having to do all of that just for her to just get a series, and what could come next, you know? And I think that that's definitely one of the interesting things here they discuss. So a lot of different themes and all of that, like I said, oversaturation, quality over quantity, as well as talking about representation as well in the industry, and is there representation, even if there is a lot of representation, is the representation at least being to a high quality as it should be, and really showing the different stories and everything, or is it just sticking to stereotypes of certain demographics in the industry as well? Because that's a thing too that we see a lot, and somebody who is Hispanic, I see it a lot still in the industry as well. There is still sort of a long way to go before it gets to a place where you don't have the same stereotypical Mexican or Hispanic stories being told on by the media, and you can move on to something that's more along the lines of, we just want to be in something cool, you know, something that doesn't have to do with poverty, that doesn't have to do with drugs or things like that. Let us just be in something cool, you know? And that's just my perspective as a Mexican of how I feel the media really does sort of still stick to stereotypes, because it's very much so something you don't see a lot be portrayed, like just a regular Mexican person, Hispanic, just being themselves. So I think that's an interesting thing that this talks about as well, but from a black perspective. And I think it's a conversation that does need to be had, because I think a lot of people just want to see the representation, not the stereotypes. So very good episode, very much so one of my favorite ones of the season so far. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. As always, if you haven't already, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And as always, we're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Check out all the other videos we did in Atlanta, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.